barbarians, and welcome to a Palaver episode.
How's it going?
So we decided to do a Palaver because today was the start of the DnD live Descent event.
Super exciting. And we have tons of thoughts about this. Well, Rainey has tons of thoughts about this.
So I watched the opening game and the opening ceremony, the opening remarks where they actually revealed the game.
Which, according to Twitter, had tons of information, like, already. It was just front-loaded with what?
Well, so the people who went to the event were basically put on a do not post anything until 2 p.m. because that's the official start, which is 3 p.m. our time.
Right.
And the problem was, at 2 p.m., the start of the event wasn't the announcement. There was a 2-hour game before they announced what the system actually was. And so what happened was, during that 2-hour game, because it was after 2 p.m., people started posting pictures from the event, and then D&D Beyond posted the official announcement for the book pre-order.
Oh.
And then, because they posted it, all of the other vendors involved with them retweeted it and reposted it. And so it was just out during the game that had nothing to do with the new adventure.
It was like an RPG avalanche.
Yeah.
Basically. Domino effect amongst
And so if any of you were in
developers.
Twitch watching the game, I was the one in there answering questions when people were asking if the thing had been announced yet.
He had all the information, basically.
People are like, what time zone is the schedule in? I'm like, Pacific time. They're like, has this been announced? I'm like, not officially, but it's on D&D Beyond if you want to look. But
It's in specific time.
Yeah.
Because it's specifically at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eastern and Pacific.
Yeah, Eastern.
Took your dad joke.
I mean, it's not really mine. But yeah, I feel you.
All right. So you don't know too much about this yet. I gave you a little bit. I tried to refrain from live tweeting you because you were out broing down a little bit.
True.
But I gave you a little bit of a heads up about what was going on.
Also true.
But the new storyline is called Baldur's Gate: Descent into Avernus. So a little bit like last year's announcement on the stream of Many Eyes, which was that it was Waterdeep, right? So there's Waterdeep Dragon Heist and then Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Yeah.
For those of you not familiar with our podcast, we are currently playing through the Waterdeep campaign on our podcast series. So please check that out. It's called Alone and Unprepared in Waterdeep.
That's a great voice. You're like an airline flight attendant.
There are 6 exits.
Yeah. We know you have a choice of podcasts, and we thank you for choosing Just Barbarian Things for all your podcast needs.
If you don't know how a seatbelt fucking works, let me show you.
Put the little end into the big end.
To undo it, pull the thingy. Yeah. So like that, it involves a city name in the title, which for fans of the Forgotten Realms is a big draw. How do you say that word? I'm from California.
Well, I think
I say it draw.
well, that's the thing. When it's a verb, it's drawl. Like let me drawl it. And then like if it's a noun, it's a big draw, then like
Right. It's a draw. How do you say that? Draw.
Yeah. It's
can't say that
weird
word.
because you're from like the California that's in Wisconsin, apparently. Like
Yeah. I don't know why I can't say that word right now. Maybe it's because I had too much of this delicious beer that you brought back for me.
yeah, it was a peace offering. It was an American premium lager with corn and lime.
Yeah.
Delicious.
It just needs chili.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta have broad appeal.
Yeah, this broad would be
You gotta
appealed by it.
appeal to the broads who like spicy beer,
Yeah.
which is a thing here.
Yeah.
Come to Colorado.
Come.
It's Beertopia.
So, like the other one, we're getting off topic. It does mention a city name in the title. But unlike Waterdeep, which really does focus for at least the first 5 levels on being in the city proper
Which I'm looking forward to.
before you go into the whole Dungeon of the Mad Mage part. But even that, you can still access Waterdeep. Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus starts in Baldur's Gate, which is, as they describe, if Waterdeep is, I don't know my DC towns, Metropolis.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate is Gotham.
Okay. Well, so you do know your DC.
I had to really think about it.
There's like also the one where Supergirl takes place in. There's like Justice City or some shit like that.
That sounds
or
made
something.
up.
It's supposed to be like DC, I think.
Oh, that makes sense.
Disclaimer,
is like
everyone
what?
out there who is thoroughly like roiling in revulsion right now, I've never watched Supergirl, nor do I really read DC comics. They're like the Nintendo of comic books.
Yeah.
So I'm not into that. Not to say it's bad. It's not this indictment. It's just not my thing is all I'm saying. Super
And
great
we
stuff.
haven't, except for Saga, we haven't really read a lot of modern comics either, I would say.
True.
Not a lot.
I mean, true.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Olaf counts, although it is amazing.
It is really good.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not really,
Anywho's.
Anyway, what is it Avernus?
Yeah.
Avernus?
Avernus. Which makes me laugh because it sounds like a furnace.
Right. I was just
And
thinking
it's
that.
the first level of hell.
Oh.
That's what Avernus is.
Okay.
So it makes sense, right?
Do you have like a elevator pitch for
What this game is?
what Baldur's Gate is? Do you have 30 seconds? What is Baldur's Gate? Go.
Baldur's Gate is the shady cousin of Waterdeep. It is also a trade city, but it is the crime-riddled bastard child of Waterdeep's golden city of splendor.
And time. Okay. So that's what you were saying. Like there's Waterdeep Metropolis, Baldur's Gate, Gotham.
Right.
It's dark shadow cousin.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the thing about Baldur's Gate and why this is an exciting pick for D&D is because so many people cut their teeth on the Forgotten Realms playing the Baldur's Gate video games back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And so the alternate cover for Descent into Avernus is the skull of Baal, which is the icon for those games.
Okay.
So it's very nostalgic.
All right. And that is cool. And I mean, I feel like it has this appeal to newer gamers as well because it's steeped in that history. So it has that nostalgic appeal, but also it's accessible to new players. In the same way that a lot of nostalgia, games that are coming back and stuff like that are like, it's this avenue to experience what we experienced back in the day, like Resident Evil remake and stuff like that.
The thing that I'm a little sad about is we haven't really done that with Neverwinter yet. And it's like, where's the Neverwinter love, homie?
Imagine if there was a Neverwinter, not like a remaster, because there was one of those, but like a Neverwinter full-on like reboot, remake, like they're doing with Bloodlines. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is like the anyway.
Sorry, that's fallen off my radar because it gets announced like so many times and it hasn't actually come out.
Yeah, don't jinx it. If it goes the like Half-Life 3 route, I will be very sad.
Okay.
So
no, I'm looking forward to that one too. If it happens, I'm just trying not to think about it too much because I don't want to have my heart broken.
Yeah, especially if it's multiplayer, dude. Oh my God, we won't do anything else for like 6 weeks.
So the thing that I do think is really smart about what they're doing with Waterdeep and then Baldur's Gate, and then who knows, maybe Neverwinter next year, is that they're taking something where they're like, oh, here's a campaign, like an adventure line, right? But they give you so much information about the city proper that it appeals to world building GMs because they can use it as a guide for doing their own campaign. And then you have all of the third-party writers write DM's Guild content that fleshes out the city even more. And so what they're doing is they're really giving two books in one. They're giving a book to people like me who like the adventure put together, and then you can just put your own spin on it. And then they're also making it the same book is for someone who's more of a world builder who just wants to use the setting for their own stuff.
Which might be like me if I ever
Right.
grow balls big enough to actually DM a game.
You're always welcome to. I won't judge you.
I feel like that's a lie, number one.
No, because I
And
just never
number
get to play. I
two-
think I'd just be excited to be there, even if all you did was tell me a story. I'd be all right with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that kind of DM where I'm like, let me tell you my story. And then you're just on rails through it. And like, nobody likes that.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be your own character. Now, to be fair, you would make an amazing character. So I wouldn't have to worry about that so much because your character would be like mind blowing because your characters that you make are rad. So
Thank you.
it wouldn't be such a concern. I just feel like I wouldn't be able to roll with the punches the way that you do and
No, I
adapt to all the curveballs you would
You've
throw
gotten
at me.
very good at improv in the game. And I think where you would be good as a storyteller, because you are like a writer, storyteller type, like where I can read an adventure and then be flexible within it and adjust it. I think you could do that without having the baseline of an adventure, which I don't like to do.
And I could take time to think about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you'd be great. But anywho,
It couldn't hurt to try. So
no, you should. You totally should.
Hey.
So let's get into kind of some of the nit grit.
Okay.
So this adventure is levels 1 through 13.
And that is Baldur's Gate Descent into Averna.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's one book that takes you through 13 levels, which is pretty in line with the other campaigns for the most part.
It's pretty substantial.
Yeah. I mean, the main difference between that and the Waterdeep ones is there were 2 books to make that happen, although it did go a bit farther as well. You start in Baldur's Gate proper. It kind of sets the tone, and they didn't want to give too much of the storyline away, but it's obvious that there are some significant people you can run into there, especially even on the villain side. They did describe that Baldur's Gate is an ideal city for murder hobos, so that those people would really enjoy that part of the game.
That makes it interesting just because we tend to play duet games.
Right.
So that makes it interesting because I haven't rolled a solo murder hobo like Gronk
That's
you
true.
know,
Yeah.
character in a while.
Yeah.
So, that is actually very interesting.
They're adding a bunch of new background features for characters who come from Baldur's Gate, because the kind of grittiness of that city would influence your character. And then the other thing that they introduced, which is interesting and that they have not done before, is one of the things that you can set up in your party is that you all have a shared secret, a shared dark happening in your group's past that you don't tell anyone. And that comes into play potentially in the game.
Okay. Kind of like Full Metal Alchemist, their secret that they have
Right.
between the two of them,
Yes.
but spread amongst the party,
Right.
maybe. Although Grandma What's-Her-Face and Winry,
Yeah.
they would be like in on it as well.
Right. So
I
they're kind of
think.
like the party that knows.
Like they know
Yeah.
what happened. So that's a good example.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great example.
Pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
Pat, pat, pat.
GG. So that's interesting. But the idea of the Baldur's Gate part is it sort of sets the tone and lets the party figure out that like something really bad is about to happen, but they have an opportunity potentially to stop it. And then that brings your group into the first level of hell. And I do like the way that Kate Welch put it, where this game, the theme of it is go to hell.
Man, I'm really looking forward to this game. Just being such a huge fan of like Clive Barker and Hellraiser, you know, and like how in the books, like the movies obviously and always never do the book justice. And how in the expanded universe of the books, you know, you have the concept of the Reavers as like an alternate force to the Cenobites, who are like, the Cenobites are stealing souls to hell, to tip the scales in Leviathan's favor. And then you have the Reavers who are like, no, we're gonna reset the scales and rescue these stolen souls from hell. So the whole idea of questing into hell for a purpose is super intriguing to me. I love that whole mythology. So I can't wait to make a righteous character like that, especially for other reasons we'll get into later.
So I'm assuming you don't know much about the first level of hell.
Of course
of the
not.
9 hells.
No.
So the first level of hell is a war-torn region, because this is where devils and demons fight each other for superiority in a many thousand-year battle called the Blood Wars.
Okay.
And so the thing about Avernus, about this first level of hell, is that it's basically a wasteland. Because it's a war, it's like just battle scarred.
Yeah.
And they've actually like teleported parts of cities from other worlds to be part of their battlefield and then destroyed them and stuff like that. So it's just this weird alien destroyed architecture everywhere.
I see.
Obviously it's horrible. And being one of the hells, for many that are there, it is their personal hell. It is the thing that is worst for them. And
So you have tortured souls like throughout this
yes.
celestial battlefield. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I mean, less celestial because it's demons and devils.
Celestial is more angelic.
Right.
So this infernal battlefield,
Exactly.
you have tortured souls scattered amongst it.
And as you can imagine, traversing such terrain would be very difficult. And so because there's this plethora of materials from all these various planes that they've brought in here, it's very easy to cobble together and customize a war engine.
Nice.
And so a big part of the game, building off of the vehicle rules they made for Saltmarsh for your ships and things like that, is building your own Mad Max hell tank.
Oh, it's so great. So that's why I was saying I can't wait, because making this like righteous warforged like paladin who is on this quest to fight his way through the levels of hell for whatever his quest is, and then he lashes together this war machine that the way it works is he kind of melds with it. He doesn't get into a driver's seat. It's almost like
a mech.
Yeah, he becomes this Batmobile style thing, and goes through and all that. It also is kind of evocative of iconic Penny Arcade, that strip where he's like, shut your damn mouth. Up till now I've been polite. If you say one more word, that strip. Yeah. And now he's like, I'll lash together a vehicle of like bone and blood and bore a hole between that world and that one.
Some of Jerry Holkin's best writing in comic form.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great. I want to get it tattooed on me somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
I want to Pam Poovy that.
Yeah. How awesome would that be?
So cool.
Oh, man. Yeah. That is fantastic.
All right. So obviously you have your hell machine that you use to traverse the terrifying landscape. And amidst this battle, which the idea is that some people who are aware of it in the material plane are thankful for it, because if demons and devils are fighting each other, they're not paying attention to the material plane. But something is simmering, and that's why the party decides to go down there, if they do. But the interesting thing about Avernus is kind of at the front line of this battle is not your typical demon or archdevil. It is someone else who went down here a long time ago saw how bad it was and decided that maybe if they stayed, they could make a difference.
Huh.
And that is a celestial.
What?
An angel, functionally.
Yeah, okay.
named Zariel. And she stayed down there and is now an archdevil on the front lines of the Blood War.
Wow. And she probably thinks she's still a celestial. Those are the best villains.
No, and so that was the whole point. What Kate Welch was talking about in the talk that they did was they wanted a villain, much like the more modern Marvel films, where you sympathized with what they were doing.
Right.
Because her intentions are good.
Yeah, and their methods are super flawed.
Yeah.
And their zealousness kind of clouds their judgment.
Kind of the main NPC in this adventure is Zariel.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a word with the naming convention for angels, because they always end in L or eel.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's cool and everything, but it's just become so tropey now. Like,
well, I mean, it's just that the influence of old biblical texts.
Yeah. I know.
You know, keep it real.
Yeah, I feel it's it's working in the genre,
Yeah.
and I respect that. I'm just saying.
So I think they've done a great job not oversharing, because that's really all we know about it to this point. They have released a few videos talking about some background of Baldur's Gate, background of Avernus as a whole, and things like that, but not really getting into what the conflict is. And I think that's really smart, because I think spoilers can be fine for DMs, but rough for players, especially since one of the powers of a DM, like one of our abilities, is to change it. Like to take what's there and make adjustments for our group.
Oh, right.
And so kind of being able to manage player expectations on a DM side can be very important. But if all the players have heard what the game is supposed to be as written, that can be really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it could kind of mess things up, you know, especially if you have a player who in good faith has played before,
right,
but is sort of working towards this expected outcome. And then if that is changed, you can feel as though you kind of had the rug yanked out from under you. And that's never a good feeling.
So that's the main campaign that was announced. They did announce a couple other side projects, as we say. And one of them is called the DnD Essentials Kit. So you may be familiar with the starter kit, because we have that. Right. Which is the little box with the Lost Mines of Phandelver and some pre-generated characters and the basic rules. So the Essentials Kit kind of expands on that. So it's sort of like the starter set in that it does have basic rules, but the rules this time include character creation rules. So you're not using pre-gen characters. It has a new adventure. It's in Phandalin, which is the adventure setting in a surrounding area. And then the interesting thing, since we, like a few other D&D podcasts, play a one-on-one game, it has the official new rules they've written for playing D&D one-on-one, one player, one dungeon master. So no one knows. Well, I mean, someone knows, obviously, but officially, like, we haven't seen what those rules are yet. But it'll be really interesting to see, because they're saying that so a while back, they released what are called Sidekick Rules in Unearthed Arcana, which, as you know, is kind of the unofficial test rules. And what they did was they modified Sidekick Rules to be able to work one-on-one, which makes me think that it works a lot like the game we're running now, where you have NPCs to kind of draw from, but that don't take center stage from you. That
does make sense, given the, name Sidekick.
So it'll be really interesting to see what the official rule set is for one-on-one play and how that compares to games like ours, games like Me, My Wife, and a Die, games like D and Duet. that also play D&D one-on-one without officially having a rule that lets them do that.
Yeah, you got to kind of homebrew it.
Right. And so we all have our own way of doing it. And then obviously a bunch of people in their normal lives adjust it. So how are we doing it versus what is their official stance on how it can be done well?
Man, that would be so cool if there was a good bit of overlap as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, it would be kind of good reinforcement.
Yeah. That would be very vindicating.
And then the other thing, kind of as an aside, we won't get too much into it, but just for your benefit, one of the other announcements was that they're releasing an official box set adventure for Dungeons and Dragons versus Rick and Morty.
What?
Yep. So it'll be a little mini adventure levels 1 through 3.
Oh, okay.
But it's Rick and Morty themed.
I mean, all right.
So a good one shot, sort of like having people over for a game day. You could probably, or a couple of short sessions. I'm sure you could probably get through it.
Yeah, or just to introduce people to the game. This is something I've been hoping for. Like, there needs to be something that is ideal that you can do easily in one night with new people.
Right.
And introduce them to it and just show them how awesome it could be. Give them a fantastic experience. And then after that, you can be like, but wait, there's more.
Right.
No,
and I think that's fair because I think pretty much across the board, everyone thinks that Lost Mines of Phandelver is an excellent beginning adventure. The problem with Lost Mines is it's not short. So you can't use it as a rules introduction where we're going to play a test session so you can learn kind of how the game works and then we'll start a real game. It's a decent chunk of game because it's levels 1 through 5. And as you know, just playing Out of the Abyss, you guys haven't even reached level 5 yet.
Shut up.
No, what I'm saying is that takes a lot of in-game time. Like, it's a lot of encounters. It's a lot of puzzles. It's a lot of travel, usually for your characters to get that far organically. And so having something like this that's a little bit more compact and has a familiar license that's kind of fun and a little less serious can make it easier for people to get into it without feeling overwhelmed by playing it right. Because they can kind of be a silly character instead.
Yeah.
And so there's less pressure, I think, to do the D&D thing.
Right.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think that's a good direction for them to go in. It's sort of in line. They did a special set for Stranger Things as well.
Oh.
But I think this one will definitely be for kind of the 30-something crowd, especially because I think that's where 30s to 40s, I think, is where Rick and Morty's sadness with the universe really hits home. I think that's the crowd where if they haven't really gotten into it at this point, it will really work for them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. It could be a good hobby for when you're staring down the barrel of your 40s. Could help you channel some of that angst.
So yeah, obviously there's not too many details yet. I can tell you that just like last time, and you know this because you got me the Waterdeep books for my birthday.
I did.
The new books come out in September.
That's when they come out.
Because that makes sense. I can now say that my birthday is new D&D storyline time because now it's established. And this is the second time they've done it that way.
Yeah, there's precedent and reinforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time it's coincidence. Now it's a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like Rick and Morty seasons. So season 4 coming out in November.
On your birthday.
Right. That's a first time thing, I think. So.
Well, because they just release it whatever.
Yeah. They kind of do whatever they want, which is another thing that's near and dear to my heart. When's it coming out? When I release it, bitch. Yeah. I can relate to that.
Obviously, along with this main campaign release means that there is a Platinum Edition Grim and Beetle box, which has physical versions of the handouts and miniatures and maps that go with the game. And just like last time, it's $10 kajillion. And by that, I mean about $500, I think, which is, I mean, basically the same thing as far as we're concerned. It is funny to be on Twitter, though, because I'm like doing my little Twitter thing, like, I'm a cool podcaster person. I'm tweeting about this thing. And then like people who are way more, you know, successful than me in this media are like, yep, already pre-ordered it. And I'm like, you were just like, yep, here's $500. I'm just going to throw that over there right now. I'm like, how do you do this? I will never see this prop set in anything but pictures on the internet.
I mean, you know, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, because they sell out really fast because they only do the platinum editions only have a certain number and then they're gone. And that's like, part of their appeal.
Yeah,
it's just like you're one of the few tables where you can hand out these things because no one else has them.
And then you have to be super precious about them too.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, it's like, as you know, I love physical handouts.
I know.
I love, if we have an in-person game, I love that stuff.
And they're fantastic.
So the idea of getting
really
one
cool.
Sounds awesome, but obviously that's a little bit outside our like ability to do realistically, especially not knowing it when we're going to finish our other campaign and when we'll get to this one. Then it sits on a shelf, like just waiting for its opportunity.
And I mean, it also kind of takes away the feeling that you can make your own, because you've made a lot of your own physical stuff.
That's true.
Like for Call of Cthulhu and everything, and it turns out fantastic. And it looks hecka pro, you know. You made some tables that I straight up thought you downloaded from an official like thing. Yeah. You know? And I'm like, these are really cool. You should talk about where people can download these. And you're like, they can download them nowhere because I made them.
To be fair, a lot of the things that I make our patrons can download on patreon.com/justbarbarianthings.
Well, there's that. But I'm just saying. Yeah. You make some pretty rad stuff. So you don't necessarily, you know, need
maybe I'm
prefab.
Just more the Deborah Ann Wool type where I make my own handouts.
Right.
And arts and crafts.
And are also super hot. So
not really.
So there's that.
But yeah, so there is, I mean, I like that. And I like that they're successful. Like this is, you know, I think the third one they've done now, because they did Waterdeep, they did Salt Marsh, and they're doing this one. Mm-hmm. And then Salt Marsh, because it's not, I think that one's like a silver edition or whatever, which isn't quite as expensive. But yeah, so there's that option as well, which I think is really cool, especially for people who like having that tactile part of their games, but don't necessarily want to figure out how to put that all together.
Yeah, no, it's really cool.
Yeah. And that company is headed by Matthew Lillard, and he's pretty cool.
Oh, the stuff they produce is 1,000,000% worth it. It's super expensive, but it's not a ripoff.
No, I think the idea is, and if you have a group that works this way, it works out really well. But that if you as a DM are running a game for a standard party of 5 people, you can take the cost of, you know, the book. Well, usually, I want to say the platinum editions come with the book or something like that because, you know, it's expensive. But you can be like, okay, our next campaign that will probably be running for 2 years because we're human people with lives, right? Is this. Everyone throw in blah dollars and that handles it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's kind of the idea for like most tables is you could make it work that way pretty easily with a decent size group. And a table like ours where it's usually like, you know, the hosting house like buys the materials sort of thing, it is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Well, there's nuance to it, but I feel like at the end of the day, you still don't feel ripped off because sometimes you buy that, you know, super director's edition collector cut of whatever, and you get it and you're like, okay, it's just this cheap,
these
janky little shitty.
Yeah.
Like I think video games are starting to become notorious for that, where you get the like platinum ultra blood soaked edition of whatever video game, and it costs
just has like
$200
a red gun skin that you don't even use for that one.
Right. You get some shitty gun that's not even good at level 1 and it only goes up to level 4, and then you get like a little plastic character that's not even painted. It's just like cast in those colors and shit like that. And you're like, oh, thanks. Like gone are the days of the Halo like actual helmet, and shit like that you got for like $100, $200. So these things for $500, you get your money's worth.
No, absolutely. I think if that's something that's within your budget to do, it's totally worth it. I'm just acknowledging that it's not within every table's budget to make that happen.
Including ours.
Yeah, including ours. Because I would love to do the Masks of Nyarlathotep like prop box, or even like the deluxe edition of Horror on the Orient Express. Like those are things I would love to be able to do, but they're just like, for our table, they're a little bit out of reality.
Yeah. I would like want to take the whole party like to the range and stuff like that. And this is an actual 1911 45. So just so you know why it's so hard for these characters to do stuff.
Right.
I need you to hit that target that's got like tentacles on it, and I'm going to like scream in your face the whole time or something like that. And then
scare you a lot.
Right.
No, that sounds like a horrible time.
That sounds like a really bad idea, and like the opposite of what you should do. Just public safety announcement.
Yeah, don't do that.
Right. Not being
for jokes.
literal here. It's just for jokes. But it is, people watch The Walking Dead or whatever, where, you have like the bus driver. Mad love to my bus driver brothers and sisters out there. I'm just saying, maybe marksmanship isn't in your wheelhouse if you're a full-time, like whatever else. So the point is, you have just normal people who've like never even touched a gun before, and then they like all of a sudden zombies, and so now they're like sprinting full speed, turning around and just busting off headshots one-handed, and then turning around and keep on running. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, those things are skills.
No.
They take practice.
No, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So people are used to seeing that, and so then they go into Call of Cthulhu, and they're like, oh, my character like picks up a gun and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, so you are a worker in a secretary pool and whatever, you've never even touched a gun before, and shocked that the difficulty is like 1,000,000%.
So right now, through the rest of this weekend, I'm not sure exactly when this podcast will go up, but I'm going to try to get it up this weekend so it's relevant. They are doing actual plays like based on the actual storyline. That's what I'm missing right now while we're recording, is the first game in the Descent storyline.
We're missing the first game to record this?
Yeah.
That's dedication.
So I'll have to go back and rewatch it later. But yeah, they're running them all weekend. So if you want to get a heads up about kind of the feel of the world, definitely go check out the Descent stream. They're on 3 different channels on Twitch. There's DnD Live, and then there's like DnD Live 2 and 3 or whatever. The schedule's on dnd.wizards.com. You can go there and see, and if there's a certain streaming group or podcast that you like, you can see which channel they're on which day. But they'll all be running games based on that. And then for those of you that are fans of Saga, the official wallpaper that they've been using to promote the event is by Fiona Staples. So
sorry.
See, you didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Oh, and she's so awesome, and that's awesome.
And so now that you kind of know what the story is about, the art makes a lot more sense. So definitely go to the website, because you can actually download the wallpaper for free on dnd.wizards.com. And and get like hella hyped for the new storyline.
I'm going there right now.
So obviously we are running Waterdeep, which came out last year. We had a little bit of a late start with it because it was something we just sort of started doing on our own. But I think that we can definitely be at a place where hopefully we can jump into the Descent, since it sounds like something that's kind of up your alley as far as interest.
Absolutely. Just it ticks so many boxes. I mean, you've got Mad Max, you've got the Eternal War, and just, oh man, so much awesome stuff.
All right. So again, this was a Palaver. For those of you not familiar, we tend to do little talky episodes every once in a while, especially if something interesting comes up or if we've had an experience or heard something from our other gamer friends that we thought is worth talking about. And so we'll be back to our normal actual plays right after this. We just wanted to give you a heads up on our thoughts about the announcements for the Descent event. So until next time, everyone, spend your rage wisely.
And delve into the deeps of Avernus.